Hello, possums. This is WrestleWolf. I am Damian Gibson. I think that was Dame Edna that I was attempting to do. And this is NXT, or the NXT review for the 1st of July 2020, or as it will always be known in history, the Great American Bash 2020, Part 1. Really rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Let's get into it. I was going to record, let me tell you about me, guys. I was going to record an hour and a half ago. I had just finished work and I was like, I was just in that mode where I'm like, yeah, no, I'll record the podcast and I recorded the intro and I bored myself. I was so tired. I needed food. So I went off and I did that thing where I ordered takeaway. Oh, man. Now I'm going to pass out just from a food coma. So let's try and get through the Great American Bash Part 1 as quickly as we can. For your sake and mine. Because you don't want to hear me vomit on the podcast. Which I probably could cut out, but knowing me, I would probably just leave it in. We started off with a fatal four-way between Tegan Knox, Dakota Kai, Mia Yim, and Candice LeRae to determine the number one contendership in the women's division. This match was weird. Everyone in this match can wrestle and wrestle well, but this felt like there was a good 2-3 minute section where Yim and Tegan Knox were going head to head after Candice LeRae had been eliminated, and it just, I don't know, it felt slow. It felt like they were missing spots. It just felt like no one was on the same page here. Eventually Mia Yim was eliminated and it came down to Dakota Kai and Tegan Knox. And then the match really picked up again, but it just still felt lackluster to me. The wind had really been taken out of the sails of this ship, and to use a really bad metaphor. And I wanted to like this because anyone who's listened to the podcast previously, and there's more and more of you all the time, so thank you, you little weirdos. I really like Dakota Kai, and I quite like Tegan Knox as well, and both of them have a huge amount of upside. There was a bit of a shame for me that this was a bit meh. And Tegan Knox got the win, which was surprising. Because all of the storytelling so far has very much been Dakota Kai coming after Io Shirai for the Women's Championship. Maybe they want to put Dakota Kai on hold until they can get a takeover. WWE still seem to be thinking that they're going to have crowds back in a month or two. So maybe they're holding off for that. But good for Tegan Knox. I like her. Tegan Knox and Io Shirai will have a great match. So it's not a bad thing, but I just kind of felt like Dakota Kai had, in the no audience era, had really done a very good job of getting herself over as a heel, and kind of deserved a shot. But if they're putting her on ice to give her a bigger and better shot, cool. Which I feel like that's probably what's happening here. Seeing them on my own, I'll give it a grade 6.5 out of 10. It wasn't bad, but not as good as my expectations were for it. And I've got to say, for part 1 of both of the special event pay-per-view shows this week, both of them struggled to live up to my expectations, so being AEW and NXT. Not bad by any necessary means, but yeah, not great. Next up, we had Timothy Thatcher against Wani Lorcan. This is going to give me a lot of heat with probably everyone who's listening to this, but this kind of MMA sort of traditional amateur wrestling mat wrestling in 2020, I'm not into it. And it seems to have changed since the 80s when you had people like Bret Hart, for example, who would do a lot of technical wrestling and I'd be really into it. This is a lot of like, I don't know, almost dislocating guys' shoulders and biting fingers and I don't know. When something has happened with me and Timothy Thatcher where I don't like him. I don't like him as a character. I don't like his wrestling style. I know a lot of people really like him. A lot of people whose opinions I really like him. He's just one of those guys that doesn't, I don't know, just doesn't do it for me. I just felt this way throughout this whole match. I know a lot of people would watch it and go, fantastic, but I just wasn't really into it. Timothy Thatcher got the win, which progresses this kind of, he beat, we had the story of him being the tag team partner of Matt Riddle. He beat Matt Riddle in the Fight Pit, which was a great match, admittedly. And then they've sort of pulled him off air, Timothy Thatcher that is, to build him up even more as this kind of like submission machine. And I don't know. It's just not doing it for me. And the sort of 80s throwback of like the no nonsense undies and black boots, and that would usually do it for me. But I'll give this a 7 out of 10 because intellectually I know it was a good match, but I'm just not invested in the characters. And for me, if the characters aren't reeling me in, then what's the point? Next up, oh God. Next up we had Rhea Ripley versus the Lion, Robert Stone. I was a big proponent of this Robert Stone angle at the beginning, and I don't hate it. I hate Rhea Ripley being involved in this. 6 months ago, she was the most dominant force in women's wrestling on earth in any promotion. And I know this is part of her training to get her involved in comedy matches and skits, but it doesn't fit. I was going to say you've never done that with The Undertaker, but then I'm sure I'm wrong. Over 30 years, I'm sure he's done some sort of ha-ha programs at some point. But anyway, Rhea ended up submitting both of these guys at the same time. I will say this, Robert Stone is jacked. Much more ripped than I thought he would be. I think Elia's got some upside. I can definitely see something in her that makes me think, yeah, you could be a real shit-eating heel that people would love to hate. I think she'll be the type of competitor that will really benefit from crowds coming back when they do come back, and it won't be in a month's time. Next up, we have my favourite thing of the night. Everyone on Earth seems to be hating on Dexter Lumis, except for myself. Critically, at least, all of us who have these sort of things, these podcasts and websites, all seem to hate Dexter Lumis. He seems to be... Smarks don't like him. So I don't know if that means that I'm not a Smark, but I do like him, and I've really enjoyed this Dexter Lumis and Undisputed Era, but in particular, Roderick Strong storyline. And I love a strap match. This doesn't happen anywhere near enough. There are so many different stipulations that can happen to a match. That can be used within a match. And I just feel like it doesn't get done. But this was great, Roderick Strong is terrified of Dexter Lumis, so, strap him to him so he has to fight him. It's great. There was run-ins from Bobby Fish trying to help Roderick Strong, but he ended up getting beaten by Dexter Lumis. I don't know if this will be the end of this. It kind of feels like it would have to be. But I don't know, if they do more Roderick Strong, Dexter Lumis, I could really be into that. I'll give the... I forgot to give a score to the Rhea Ripley thing. Let's give it a 5 out of 10. This Dexter Lumis, Roderick Strong, I liked. 8 out of 10. More Dexter Lumis, more Roderick Strong. yeah, no storyline continued here, so we'll see what happens with both of those guys. Then in between this and the last match, we had a whole bunch of promos, really. We had Damian Priest promo, we had a Cameron Grimes promo, continuing their storyline on. We had a sort of patented WWE video package about Keith Lee and Adam Cole, which those are always fantastic when WWE does those. And there was a Karrion Kross promo as well. So all of those storylines that have been bubbling away continue to be boiled, heated up. And then we got to Sasha Banks versus Io Shirai in what was being billed as a dream match. And I suppose for a lot of people it would have been a dream match. The actual match itself was fine, but I do kind of want to talk about the booking. So for the 4th week out of 5, we've had a huge main event on NXT advertised, shoved down our throats, only to get a schmoz finish. Now, if this is a dream match, and I don't care if it's a schmoz finish for the face or the heel, I just don't want them. Like, if this is a dream match and you're giving fans what they want, can't you just let one of them win clean? Wouldn't that make sense? Surely. Like, and the other thing as well is that neither of these guys are on the same brand. So if someone does win, it doesn't really hurt the other person anyway, because if you only watch SmackDown or Raw, you don't know that Io Shirai's beaten Sasha Banks clean, you know. But if you watch NXT, you do. And so, you know, it was kind of cool that Asuka came down and ran interference to allow Io Shirai essentially to get the win. But all of this, like, you know, I know Bayley was always going to be there because she's Sasha's BFF or whatever, but all you had to do is just write one line of Sasha going, I'm going to NXT on my own because I want to show people that I am the boss. Or, you know, I want to show people the reason why they call me the boss. No, we had to have, it's just that sort of, you know, wrestling promoters do this quite a bit when less could be more, and they just stack everything in there. And especially, I feel like these ratings wars stories that are all over, you know, dirt sheets are really starting to get to both companies booking, because they're worrying more about what's happening across the road than actually concentrating on their own show. And this goes for both, but probably more for NXT than for AEW. But even if we just get rid of the Wednesday night war narrative, you got to give us a finish. You have to give us a main event that finishes properly. And like, I know the line coming out of WWE and WWE fans would be, oh, well, you got to protect Sasha. You can't just have her lose to, you know, I mean, she's on a... But if all the brands are equal and there's no such thing as going up to the big leagues anymore, then why do you have to protect Sasha? Io Shirai's the champion. Let her win clean. The match itself was great, but I was really taken out of it by Asuka appearing. Yeah, Io Shirai wins, but Asuka's in there doing her little dances and stuff, and it felt like it was just as much as a thing of like, remember, you can see Asuka every Monday night live on Raw. It just... The thing that's going to get people to come and watch your wrestling show, good wrestling and good stories, and people want to see winners and losers. They want to see continuing storylines. And yes, I know all of this could be turned into storylines. Asuka versus Sasha, all this kind of stuff. But then again, it's more about storytelling on the other two brands than it is on NXT. And it felt, to me, very much like Vince's fingerprints were all over this. It feels like, I mean, this feels like the second time that, in, you know, a matter of months, that a main roster woman has been sort of sent down to NXT. And I know it happens a lot. Maybe I'm overreacting, but I really like Io Shirai. I think she's a great champion. I think this match showed that, like, not only is she a great female wrestler, a great NXT wrestler, she's one of the best wrestlers going around on planet Earth. And, you know, NXT need to promote that. And okay, she won, but I don't know. Winning in a schmoz finish because her best mate, who's the real champion, coming down and helping her out, it just felt lame. So, all up, I'll give this a 7. I would have, if the schmoz finish hadn't finished, whoever won, I probably would have been close to a 9 because the wrestling itself was really good. But just storyline-wise, it feels like it's hedged its bets, It's just as much about Raw and SmackDown as it is about NXT, and not in a cool way, not in the way where you'd be like, because is this storyline going to continue on between Io Shirai and Sasha? Probably not. Are we all of a sudden going to get Io Shirai on Raw for them to have a tag team match that means nothing? No. But even if you did, would you really want to see that when in 2 weeks' time that storyline will be dead? I don't think so. I think NXT fans deserve better than that. And hopefully we'll get that next week. The Keith Lee, they did a very, very good job of reminding you that Keith Lee versus Adam Cole's happening next week. And they're very, very good at hype down at the old WWE. Not that the hype isn't warranted, it 100% is, but they are very good at making you, at the end of every show that you watch of theirs, going, ooh, I'm looking forward to next week. So I suppose the big takeouts of this was Tegan Knox is getting a push, which I'm happy with, that's cool. Would prefer it to be Dakota Kai, if I'm being honest, but, Tegan Knox, cool. And Dexter Lumis is something. I know people don't seem to get it or like him, but yeah, I want to see more of it. I'm really down. So overall, I think my expectations were pretty high because they had told me it was going to be pay-per-view quality, and it didn't feel like that. So I'll give this a 6.5 out of 10. Cool. I think I can pretty much leave you guys there. If you are listening to this for the first time, you can follow us on the socials. We are at WrestleWolf on Facebook, and we are at WrestleWolfPod on Instagram and Twitter. You can get in contact with us or see what's happening in the world of wrestling at WrestleWolf.com. And then you can find the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you have already downloaded the podcast because you're listening to it. All right, guys. I'm going to leave you there. Stay safe. We'll talk to you next week about AEW Dynamite. Oh, actually, just before I go, I'm looking to start doing some New Japan stuff as well. So you can look forward to that. But anyway, until that happens, I'll speak to you guys soon. Stay safe.